Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Thank you for coming here.
Sure.
So, this is the second ROP-snakk on English, and we just try, yeah?
Okay.
So, let's talk about citizenship in mental health. What is that?
Okay. So that's an excellent question and an important one because so we talk about citizenship and mental health, but we do that uh, to talk about the specific application of a certain notion of citizenship to mental health care. We're not talking about mental health citizenship, though.
Okay.
So it's important to say that citizenship is citizenship as far as we're concerned. And citizenship means full membership in society and participation and access to resources and so forth. And I'll give you the definition of citizenship in a moment. But so this is not psychiatric citizenship. It's not mental health citizenship. It's most of our work has involved people around citizenship has involved people with mental health issues. Sometimes also people who are homeless, people with criminal charges, people who may also have substance use problems. But citizenship applies to everyone, although our particular interest has been mainly around mental health, but also more and more others who are marginalized, excluded from society.
Yeah. I was attending this group with Patty, citizenship class yesterday, and it was really interesting. And she said she's been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah.
You can tell us some more
Sure.
about that?
The Citizens Project is our longest running project, citizens-based project. We started in, I think it was 2000, and we had one project before that Patty was also involved with that went for about 3 years. And the Citizens Project is built around our sort of conceptual framework of citizenship. We define citizenship as a measure of the strength of the person's connection to the 5 R's of rights, responsibilities, roles, resources, and relationships that society makes available to people through public and social institutions and through association with others in common with others. It also involves a sense of belonging that is validated by others, recognition by others of your equal worth and dignity. So that's a longish definition, but we try to cover a lot of bases in it, so it's not just about rights and responsibilities of course are very important, but so is participation, relationships with others, valued roles. So are resources, money, income, housing, transportation, and so forth, food. That's where we started with that definition, and the Citizens Project was the first attempt to create an intervention. Not really, it's an intervention, but it's also a community, right? That embodies the definition of citizenship. So, what we saw yesterday was the citizenship class. It's an ongoing class that is built around the 5 R's and belonging. So that the topics, one way or they may overlap with a couple of the R's, but and the R's do overlap. So, for example, relationships, friendships are also resources. Resources to feel, because we feel better when we have contact with people and friends who regard us highly. But resources also in the sense of helping each other, right? So the 5 R's are used to sort of focus the different classes, which are very, very practical issues like housing, health care, and your rights according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, your rights and responsibilities in relation to the mental health system, the criminal justice system, and so forth. And then there are three other components, peer mentors, and go ahead.
Yeah, because you have the R's, but what's the relationship between the recovery and citizenship? And we was talking about always also this meaning-making process.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I saw, yesterday when I was in this class, I saw the people coming there. They got $10 for showing up and participating.
Right.
So, and I was thinking, and I was talking to some colleagues. How is this in Norway? Is it possible to because I think maybe somebody in of the professionals at least should be a bit skeptics about this $10 in a way. Did you meet some problems doing this?
We've had plenty of discussions, with clinicians among ourselves about the whole issue of the $10, and the idea, well, this is something that's helping people. Why should they be paid for it? And the other side of it is the feeling that people are also giving of themselves and their time. They're contributing in a way to citizenship. Patty and I, long time ago, really at the beginning of the project, talked about how we felt that it was likely that we were going to learn some things about citizenship from folks that were going through the Citizens Project, and we certainly have. So, I mean, which is not to say you couldn't do a Citizens Project without the $10, and I think you could, and I think it might be fine, and I think, for one thing, you might not have the funds to do that. So it could be done, but I think, and then, people will often say things like, well, this person has a substance addiction. If you give him $10, he's going to go out on the street and spend it. Well, if the person really wants to find drugs, they're going to find other ways to do it, and you can't use that as an excuse for not addressing the issue of this is the person's time is valuable. One of the things that students often say is I came for the $10, but I stayed because of the content and the community.
Yeah. I see what you mean. So, how is citizenship utilized in clinical work?
Good question. So citizenship kind of started with the idea that systems, it came out of homeless outreach work, which is a very well resourced program to go out and find people who were not receiving mental health care, who had mental illnesses, who also happened to be homeless, and to go out and make contact with them, build trust with them, engage with them, start talking about this help that we could provide. And a whole range of services from clinical care to primary care to referral to substance use care to helping with housing, helping apply for entitlement funding for people with disabilities, helping people look for jobs if that's what they were interested in doing. We could do all of these things. And then we learned that the one thing we really couldn't do was help people become, especially after we started getting people into housing, we could do everything except help people become neighbors, community members, and citizens. So that's kind of where we were coming from when we started, and so we were sort of looking beyond or outside of mental health care initially. It's like mental health care is great and all of the resources that can come with it, but mental health care only goes up to a certain point, and there's this whole other thing that involves being a neighbor, community member, citizen, participating, all of the things that go beyond, simply receiving mental health care.
Yeah, because it's difficult in many ways because many parts of our society has some quite, for me anyway, so for other people too, quite absurd sights and strange things happening,
Right.
So you have to, like, in a way, have resilience
Yeah.
for the bad things in the society that, like, people just can they take for granted in a way. They just do it.
Right.
So, what do you think is the biggest problem for people to adapt in the society?
They
For people with
need,
mental health and
yeah.
co-occurring.
Yeah. They need support. They need validation for themselves, their strengths. Peer support is important. We've learned outside of citizenship, but certainly within the citizenship work, the peers have a special capacity to engage with other peers, to give hope, to give support, to give feedback that you might not accept from a case manager, but you would accept from your peer mentor. So, and then information and education, such as, in the Citizens Project, somebody coming in and, a landlord or a realtor coming in and talking about housing, talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act and what your rights are.
Yeah.
So access to resources, and then in the case of the Citizens Project, when we started out, I kind of thought, okay, you've got sort of exclusion over here, homelessness, incarceration, mental illness, and you've got this thing here called the Citizens Project that's going to help you get over here, to citizenship, which is kind of a dumb idea, but that became clear. It became clear that this project itself became part of people's community.
Yeah.
And isn't that true for most of us? We have a sense maybe of being full members of society, of being citizens, but much of our sense of membership and participation comes from where we were, social encounters, or particular interests that we might have and share with others, or dealing with community issues, or if you've got kids in school, being part of what's going on there, advocating, voting, all of those kinds
Activities,
of
hobbies,
things.
things like that. Yeah.
So it's those things that we do and the people that we do them with that become important. But I wanted to get back to the question that you asked me about citizenship and mental health care.
Yeah.
Because what I started with is saying, we started by trying to go outside of care. What's happening here, fine. But there's this whole other area. Right. Yeah. Over time, we've come to talk about, so what we're doing over here is great, but what about citizenship-informed care that then helps move along what happens over here outside of mental health systems. And that's been a slow road, a long road, and a slow one, because bringing the notion of citizenship, even the word, into mental health care was odd. So it's, and then you have clinicians in public mental health centers in the U.S. or here, who are mental health centers and mental health care is underfunded, and they're working with people with lots of issues, and they're feeling overwhelmed, and you come along with a new idea, and people are not necessarily opposed to it, but they feel they cannot cram one more thought into my brain, in working with. So it has been slow. Recently, we have developed a citizenship tool, partly based on an instrument that we developed to measure citizenship, partly based on the 5 R's. My colleague Sherelle Bellamy and a few of her colleagues developed that tool, which is now being modified a bit, but it will now be able to use in mental health care, I think in a more practical way than we've been able to introduce citizenship before, because people are used to sort of a tool that you can look at or some questions that you can ask that help facilitate a dialogue around citizenship in the 5 R's and so forth.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.